Live from the cafeteria and redemption headquarters, it is us, the four podcasters. I am joined here with Brobarian, Robert D, and Harlan. We are doing a spooky episode today. We're going to go through our 5 favorite horror movies or TV that we would like to see a C8. So I guess without further ado, we'll just kick it off. Watch out for that jack-o'-lantern. So, for number 5, for me, going, bottom to top, I don't know if you guys know this one, but it's the Human Centipede 3.
No. Human Centipede. I've
3.
never seen that, but it sounds terrifying.
3. Well, the reason it's my number 5, if you can't already figure it out, it's starring Eric Roberts.
Oh, shit.
Of course.
Okay. All right, now we're
All
talking.
right.
So, I had to bring my main man in at the very beginning.
Oh, we are just kicking it off with Eric Roberts now, are we?
Oh, we are. So, Dave, when you listen to this, Human Centipede 3, you know what? We need to reach out to Eric Roberts and have him listen to this and be like, we need to get him on the show because I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah. Ooh, I think we would need some more subscribers before Eric Robert even looked our way.
I mean, we'd have to hit at least that 1,000 mark.
It's a goal.
If not,
it's a goal.
Yeah, it's a long-term goal that we were asked about last week when we did the interview for the blog.
Wow, that's right.
And if you haven't read it, then you should. And when this goes up on YouTube, maybe someone will drop the link in there so those who haven't read it can now read it. Who wants to go next for their number 5?
I'll throw a number 5 out. So I tried to avoid anything because it's easy to say Resident Evil, because it's a video game, or like Silent Hill. But Blade.
Is that
yes?
Is that really horror though?
It's a
falls
vampire
under horror.
franchise. Because it's vampires. Yeah.
And
It's like action horror. I'd go with it.
I see that more as a comic book movie, honestly.
Yeah, but
it's a mixed genre film.
All right, I can go with that.
Now, I was torn between Underworld and Blade, and it's mostly because I've been on a Vampire the Masquerade kick recently, so I've just been watching all these. But I think there's enough there to actually fill out a CA.
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean, there's 3 movies, so
and you've got the whole Dampier origin
there.
Yeah, you got the Dampier origin,
and you've also got all those delightful new toys and weapons from Blade Trinity, like the Sundog bullets Hannibal King uses.
There you go. So it was between Blade or Underworld, and I think Underworld is even less of a horror movie than Blade is. I think Blade has more horror factors in it than Underworld.
I think Underworld is just darker.
I think Underworld is darker but less horrific. I'd say that leans more to the action. I mean, it's a fucking awesome movie. I love it.
Yeah, the Underworld films gave me almost Highlander-esque vibes in terms of these immortals with these centuries-old grudges. Sure, they were infectious.
I mean, it's ripped straight out of Vampire the Masquerade.
I mean, Vampire had its own show in the 90s for...
They did.
Kindred the Embraced. I found
that's right.
DVD set on Amazon.
I have it on my Plex.
The creators of the game did not love Kindred the Embraced when it came out. It was
horrible. I mean, it's 90s cheesy, and I like it for that aspect. But the Bruja do not wear suits.
No, far from it.
They mixed up the Bruja and Gangrel aesthetics.
Yes, they absolutely did. Not that the Gangrel wear suits either, but you know what? If anybody out there that listens to this at some point, has ties to the IPs for this, I think it's due for a comeback done the right way.
Yeah, I mean, the 5th edition of it they've got a ton of supplements and stuff for.
I know, I have most of them. I
wouldn't be surprised if there was enough interest.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said likewise. I have a number of the supplements for the World of Darkness 5th edition stuff.
Yeah, I got the books. Oh, well, I'm thinking about it since it's still October. Humble Bundle, I think they still have it, is doing a whole bunch of the PDFs for $18. They get all
Yeah, I
three
saw
tiers.
that.
So if you guys are interested, and listeners out there, for $18, you get like almost everything they have out in PDFs. It not only includes vampire, it includes hunter, and it includes werewolf.
Yep.
Which is pretty sweet. I've been on the full-blown 20th anniversary. I haven't even touched the 5th edition stuff yet.
I've had the main rule book for a few years. I haven't cracked it. It's still in the cellophane. But I
Yeah,
started we have all the older stuff, so I'm just going to start collecting books.
There's something very appealing about the 20th anniversary.
I got that as a POD from Drive-Thru a few years ago, when last time I think we played, and that book's still sitting over my friend's house. But I'm a
I've
little
been waiting for a
partial-
month for them to print mine, so I just went to Print Me One PDF printer and had them print it out for me, and then just put a coil bind on it and send it to me in like 3 days.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't check eBay.
I did. They were $250 to $550.
Holy
Oh, that
Christ.
noise.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That noise.
Now
No.
the first edition and the second that came out in like 98 or whatever, you can find everywhere for like as low as like $20. Like they're in bad shape, but whatever.
Oh.
But if you are looking for 20th anniversary anything, if you go on Amazon right now, there is one 20th anniversary book available for $4,999.
Kiss my grit.
Now, no one's going to buy that, obviously, but I have only seen like originally printed copies of the 20th anniversary for like, I think the lowest was $150, and it was beat to shit.
Yeah, no.
So
Those
it's odd
20th
that there's that few.
The 20th anniversary books are massive. They are
Yeah.
big tomes.
They are.
Yeah, it's a very pop. What I've found out is that the 20th anniversary is the more popular.
Yeah. I like the, I don't know, it was like revised or whatever. I don't know, it was the late 90s or early 90s version we used to play and had
Revised,
all
I
the plan
think.
books. Yeah, revised. I like that one. That's, I don't know if it's because the ones we like started with or whatnot, but that's like my version. I played the 20th anniversary. I like
Oh,
I like-
Redemption.
Redemption.
No. I'm sorry.
We are
That's the video
Redemption.
game. No,
Oh, yeah.
There's Vampire the Masquerade
There's two video
Redemption.
games. There's two video games. There's Bloodlines
Redemption
and
and
Redemption.
Bloodlines. Yeah.
Yeah, revised, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, revised roughly translates to 3rd edition.
Yeah, it came out in, I
Yeah.
think, 98.
Yeah. We should probably get back on topic.
Oh, yeah. All right, who's up
Um,
next with their 5th choice? Or
Bro, Robert?
Now, I had to think long and hard about this one, and again, I actually like this movie a lot more than 5th place, but because it's mixed genre, I figured I should probably put it at the tail end. Big Trouble in Little Chinatown.
yeah,
You mean Little China?
Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. Because it is much like you were talking about Kindred the Embrace. There is an element of campiness to it, but you've got demons, immortal undead sorcerers trying to do human sacrifices. There's some blood and gore. For me, it ticks boxes as a horror story. It's just told in a somewhat campy, comic way. Plus,
and I could see
you'd have
Evil
some cool
Genius
magic
doing
stuff
that
you could add
as
in
a
there.
CA.
It would be a really fun CA. I mean, you've got
It seems in line with what like some of like the
you could
cinematic
take
adventures
a
that they have.
large
like
metropolitan area in California for a great setting. There's a whole possibility for like magic subclasses, or even a mage or chosen one sort of origin. I know we already do have the chosen wise heroes class, which we'll get to when we get back to the class episodes. But the idea of someone who's just this genuine rough and tumble hero, but is also kind of clueless and out of his depth, is really fun.
that I could definitely see as a CA, no doubt.
I like it.
What do you
Picasso.
What do you got, bro?
So my list is starting off with the most obvious ones and going into the more obscure ones. So I'm going to kick this one off with Godzilla.
Yeah.
Weenie Godzilla.
I could see that.
Yeah, I can see
Monster
that.
vs. Godzilla. It's got to be companioned to Kong Skull Island. This was the most like obvious in your face choice.
That's how I felt about Blade or Underworld. It's just obvious, like all the lore is there. With the Kong Skull Island and the supplement coming out, but in Pacific Rim, there's also a kaiju. There's a bunch of kaiju
Similar.
in there, which you could, if you wanted to homebrew Godzilla, you could do right out of that.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, somebody recommended it to me months ago. There's I can't remember what its name is. It's like Rygan or something like that. Or basically, he has a breath weapon that all you have to do is just make it recharge, and then it's more or less the same. But with Godzilla, you get the Toho monsters, so you'll get Rodan and Mothra and Ghidorah and any other Toho monsters that might come out later on. We could get that down the line. But yep, so that's my number 5. Let's smack you in the face, obvious. So, Spectral, back to you.
All
What's
right, number 4, and this could be higher. I don't know, but I'm going to go with John Carpenter's Vampire.
That's a good
okay.
one. That's a good one.
That is a classic.
I'm just wondering if you guys are going to say my number 1 before I get to it. But
I know. I keep waiting for it.
I'm going through my brain for my other ones, and I'm like, oh, this would be good. Like, I'm going to have to do some honorable mentions at the end.
Oh,
'cause
sure.
I don't want to go too mainstream, but yeah, John Carpenter's Vampires, it's pretty mainstream. You got James Woods. They bust into the nest in the barn and hit him with the the crossbow with the rope, and they pull him right out to the fucking sun. I mean, how do you not go after that? And it's just a good, solid vampire movie.
Yeah, it's undeniable. It was a strong choice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Harlan, what's your next?
Well, this one, again, I think maybe the early iterations were more horror, and as the series went on, became less and less horror. But The Purge.
That's another.
Oh, that's pretty darn terrifying.
That's a good one.
That's another series I haven't seen.
It is worth it. Honestly, if you watch the first one like that, and then you're like, okay, this is horrific. As it goes on, it's definitely turns more into like survival thriller, and like to the later one. There's got to be like 6 of them. There's a TV show now too.
Yeah, it's a franchise these days.
But how I would run it is like a timed adventure where there are waves of enemies going against you, and you have to get to certain places to survive, but also there would be like an opposing PC team that is trying to hinder the other players in some way. I think The Purge, it opens up for, obviously collecting weapons, collecting resources, finding shelter. You have like the different gangs that are running the streets. The prison opens at one point, people spill out, like things like that. I think The Purge would stand for a strong CA. Again, it's like 6 movies and a TV show.
Yeah, it's got a lot of content,
ton of content, and it's it's horrific in its nature of like, oh, it would be awful to be out on the streets during a purge. Like I've thought about that. I'm just like, if you are not in a place where you can just lock yourself inside, it's just like, what a stressful night. Then you just go to work the next day. That's rough. But it would definitely be a fun thing to set up as a GM. But that is my number 4 pick.
For now.
So, bro, you want to pick it up then?
Sure, I'll pick it up. So I'm going to go ahead and we've already talked about it, but Underworld is my number 4.
Nice.
Underworld is,
I'm glad that made it on
again,
there.
This is the smack you in the face.
I had Underworld / Blade.
Yeah. Well, you favored Blade more than Underworld, but that's, they're pretty similar. They're similar enough, but yeah. So Underworld's got it's Legendary Studios, which they have a partnership with through Kong and Pacific Rim. So it goes hand in hand pretty well with the rest of them. And like I said, there's plenty of lore. They've had Underworld comics. There's several movies. So there's a lot there. to work with. I mean, not much else to be said so far about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say again, it is like my preferred between Underworld and Blade. Definitely, Underworld takes the cake.
And we got Robert in stereo.
Yeah.
Robert in stereo.
Bum, 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 bum.
All right. I have removed my digital doppelganger, I think.
Still showing.
Oh, there's two of me. The grocery
That's okay.
stores
One of
Northern
them's muted.
Virginia
So
trembling.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the way this works, you can't make those adjustments as the recording's going, so it's no worries.
Gotcha.
No worries.
We won't hear it.
All righty. But as far as my fourth pick, for much the same reasons that you said John Carpenter's Vampires, I was thinking of Lost Boys.
You know what? That was in my list. That was going to be my number one. But now that you said it, I'm going to have to pick a new number one.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
And
sorry.
I knew someone was going to come with it before my number one, but that's fine. I still got my 3 and 2.
So sorry. But it's again, like the John Carpenter's Vampires movie, it's a classic vampire hunting situation. You've got some great possibilities for rules about making homemade vampire slaying gear. You've got some pretty interesting possibilities for an origin or a class about the half-dead or half-turned. And if you're going franchise-wide, because there was a sequel, which I believe actually starred as the new head vampire, Kiefer Sutherland's younger brother, who was the head of the street gang head in the first movie, Vampire Group. And then there was a third movie, tangentially referenced werewolves, possibly adding them into the mix for a CA. Love the Frog Brothers.
Another strong
Jamie
choice.
Gertz.
Truth,
Because Jamie
truth.
Gertz is, oh my God.
Indeed.
God,
Jamie Gertz. But that in fact is my that's my fourth choice.
All right. So my third choice. I'm going a little campy with this. I'm focusing on maybe some of our younger teenage players who have no idea this movie exists. But they should. If they have good parents, they've seen this movie. Monster Squad.
Oh, Monster Squad.
That's a great choice.
There's a great band called Monster Squad that's named after the movie.
Because you know the tagline from Monster Squad. Wolfman doesn't have nards. Wolfman's got nards. I got that on DVD off of eBay. It was a backup copy before it actually released on DVD. I mean, that was probably one of my favorite movies as a kid. It was cheesy. It was like PG, maybe PG-13. I don't even remember. I mean, it was the 80s, so it was probably just PG. But it had everything. You had Dracula, you had Frankenstein's monster, you had the Wolfman, you had the Mummy. I mean, how do you and it's kids, so it's not super scary, but at the same token, it's still a horror movie.
I actually have not seen Monster Squad. I have to admit it.
Now you feel like me. I haven't seen The Crow. I haven't seen The Purge.
I'm aware of Monster Squad is the thing. I was hoping to see Eric Roberts in Monster Squad, but no.
He was not. Now, if you remind me before PAX, I can download it to a USB stick for you if you haven't seen it by then. Along with Best of the Best.
Oh, Best of the Best. I know it came highly recommended, but I don't see me watching a boxing movie.
It's karate.
Or whatever.
And it's got James Earl Jones in it.
Yeah.
So,
that alone is a selling point.
Yes. Especially since he's now passed on. Rest in peace.
Fantastic actor.
Was. Absolutely. So that was my number 3. Harlan, what do you got?
Let's see. I didn't even put these in any order, so I'm just going to throw one out. The 2000 cinematic classic, The Mummy.
Yes.
Obviously.
That was going to be my number. That was going to be my number 2.
Oh, shit.
That's all right. That's all right.
That would be a perfect CA. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Was it 2000? I thought it was like 98.
I think it was 2000 it came out.
Let me.
Oh.
It was. Oh wait, the first one was 1999. The Mummy Returns was 2001.
Yeah, so
And
99.
then there was a third
99.
one that was set in China rather than dealing with the Egyptian mummy situation.
Right.
Yes.
But everybody
And
loves
then there's
Brendan
the
Fraser.
spin-off Scorpion Kings.
Yes.
Scorpion King movies.
Dwayne the Rock.
Which, yeah, it was kind of his foray into acting.
Yeah.
So good for him. But that is probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I was saving that for my number 2, but yes, it's definitely a great choice. Dave, get the Mummy and get Brendan Fraser. Everybody loves Brendan Fraser.
Yes, especially now. But yeah, that to me had to go up on the list. I mean, the first one is obviously it's the Mummy. It has horror elements to it. Returns is definitely more actiony. I didn't really. I remember seeing the Dragon Emperor, or what was it called? The third one.
Yeah, the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
I did not even bother with what's his name's Tom Cruise. I hate Tom Cruise.
Oh no, I didn't. Yeah, I don't hate Tom Cruise. I just was not going to go see his Mummy because it was going to be charged. They were going to start that off as a
cinematic universe. Yeah,
a cinematic universe, but it did so poorly because
they were trying to monster movie the Avengers. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Now I could see that working if you get the right people behind it.
Oh, definitely.
Now, the one good thing that came out of that Tom Cruise one, though, is the video game. It's you might be able to find it on PlayStation. I know I can find it on the Xbox, but it's a Metroidvania styled 2D scroller game, and it's actually a solid game. It's worth trying if you can get it on sale.
I'll have to peek it.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, like when your character dies, all your gear gets left where you died, and you start off as a new soldier who goes down, and you have to go re-explore. And when you find your corpse, you can raid your body and get back all your gear. So, yeah, it's interesting, but it's a solid game. All right, so who's next for number 3?
Robert, I believe you're up.
All right. Okay. Now, for my number 3, I had a hard time picking a third one because my first 2 were pretty quick picks for me, and my third one, I actually ended up going with less a movie and more of a TV series.
Oh, I think I know what it is. I'm not going to spoil it, but I think I know what it is.
Well, for a TV series, there are actually 2 I was torn from. So one, I'm actually holding off for a higher level because it's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But the the one that for my third pick was actually called A Discovery of Witches.
Oh no, I was not thinking that.
So, it's got a really great sort of dark urban fantasy situation going on there. You
is
probably
that the one set in New Orleans?
No, that's the Mayfair Witches.
Okay.
Inspired by the Anne Rice books. But the Discovery of Witches, it's got vampires and witches and a third classification of supernatural called daemon, not demon, but Daemon. And they are effectively divergent species from the human race. But there's a sort of a cross between magic and science going on there. The witches especially have the science and mysticism situation. But there's a hidden society and treaties between the 3 of them. But there's a lot of tension between the 3 of them. But there's also a lot of time travel shenanigans and magical creatures accidentally being created or unleashed, and prophecies of either saving or destroying the supernatural species or humanity itself. It's got some really cool plot thread possibilities and character origin options.
That's a strong choice as well.
Yeah, that's a strong choice. I'll have to watch that. I think I might have that.
It's on. I think it's on Netflix. It's either Netflix or Hulu. I think it's because it's 3 seasons because it was 1 season for each of the 3 books in the series.
Yeah, you say that, and I just get everything on Plex. So, I don't have any subscriptions for that anymore. The only subscription I have right now is Kindle Unlimited.
Nice. And then, as well, the other TV show, I'll wait for my number 2. I think you probably guessed what it is already.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So I'm not gonna. I was gonna bring that up, but I think I know what it is, so I'm not going to. So my number 2, you guys have took my number 2 and my number 1 away from me. So I'm kind of like going through everything in my head because unlike you guys, I didn't make a list. I like to wing it. So I think for number 2, I'm going to go with Final Destination. So it's not.
Oh, okay.
So it's not so much monsters itself, but it's death. Now, could you imagine playing adventures where you don't know the enemy that's after you because it's the Angel of Death, and you have to avoid all these traps to survive? So, you could throw in, maybe some other angels or demons or some other supernatural into that. But the whole thing is, or fate. It's actually fate, not death. So you're trying to outlive fate. Now, I don't necessarily know if this qualifies as horror versus suspense or mystery, but I think, you could probably do some background or something, or some feats where you get some ability to be able to detect this, or you notice, the things that like, oh, well, this occurs and, this happens, from the first one, they're on the plane and they realize it goes like this and these people survived and, maybe it's more, mystery or detective type thing. So if it's not horror, let me guys know and I'll pick a different number 2.
No, that's solid.
That qualifies.
I like that because it's out of the box as far as what a CA would be. Like my mind immediately leaks to those mixed genre action stuff because when I think of the CAs and I think of Evil Genius games, there always has to be some sort of hero element. But I like the idea of Final Destination.
All right, Harlan, what's your number 2?
Okay, well, so going with that, similar thing of like, not really a mixed genre one, but has anyone seen As Above, So Below?
No, I have not.
No, I don't think I've
Okay.
heard of that one.
It's pretty solid. So it was like a lower budget. I don't think it was by the people that did Blair Witch, but it follows this group going into the catacombs in Paris in search of the what do you call it? The not the sorcerers, the alchemist stone, the sorcerer's stone, whatever it is.
The philosopher's stone.
Philosopher's stone. And they go down into the catacombs of Paris, and spoiler alert, it leads them to the gates of hell. And the whole theme is that, like, as above, so below. So it's them like running back and forth in the catacombs of Paris and like this like strange parallel universe where like their greatest fears and failures are reflected into like what they're seeing. It's pretty spooky. It's super intense as well. Like it's very fast paced. But if you've never seen As Above, So Below, it is worth a watch. And to me, like it kind of goes along with that Final Destination thing where there's not like a physical embodiment of like an enemy, but it's them like confronting like their greatest sins like down in hell, and it's pretty awesome.
Sounds
that
good.
I would see as a CA.
Okay.
All right, Bro or Robert?
My number 2, again, I went with the TV series here, and you probably guessed what it is, but I was thinking Supernatural.
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't thinking that. I mean,
That's
that is
exactly
a good
what
one,
I was thinking.
and that is my favorite TV show. But I didn't put that on my list because, again, it's very mainstream. 15 seasons. I love
That's
Jensen
fair.
Ackles. I love Jared Padalecki. I was trying to go with some stuff that isn't quite as mainstream. Honestly, I thought you were going to go Sleepy Hollow.
Fantastic. Oh, I should have put that on my list. Oh, maybe I'll replace my top one with that. But with Supernatural, I mean, I know when we talked about the Monster Hunter Tough Hero class, I made reference to Dean Winchester. And, well, quite frankly, the Supernatural TV show is all about that monster of the week hunting adventure situation. Sure, you've got the big plot arcs in various seasons, but it comes down to that each episode is a mystery where you're trying to figure out what's causing the chaos or the deaths, and you're not sure if it's the people that you've met already that's actually one of these entities or beings, or whether it's something that's just lurking and watching you from the shadows. So, and there's all sorts of, I mean, you've got the whole angel and demon situation. You've got vampires and werewolves. You've got Jinn and the Fae and even leprechauns. They pulled creatures and horror stories from so many cultures and eras and mythologies. It was darn hard to keep track of, but they tweaked them all to kind of make them their own. And even amongst player options, you have the things like the psychic situation that could be expanded on from some of the stuff in the vault. You had the possibility of, well, what happens when you do have somebody who's at least part or occasionally monstrous, like a pure-blooded werewolf, or even there was even that spin-off idea of Garth, and there was even and there was the spin-off idea about what happens when you want to focus on a story of monsters that at least have some control over their urges, like the shape changers and such in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it has a lot of possibilities for a CA, and I mean, Frank and Dean are just fantastic, and Castiel, I love Castiel. He's great, and Bobby, Bobby,
yeah.
Plus, you have the whole Men of Letters thing you could also dive into if you wanted to, with secret societies and hidden artifacts and relics. That'd be a fun thing to have, a book of supernatural artifacts and relics and rituals and such.
Now, Supernatural did have its own TTRPG. In fact,
it did.
Years ago, I bought the rulebook for my cousin. She never did anything with it, and I don't think she's finished the series yet.
I bought the PDF of that book. It's a good game. It's a good series.
I'll have to look into that. I might even have the PDF already. But my favorite monster from that entire 15-year run. Do you want to take a guess?
Ooh, would that be the Jefferson Starships?
100% it would be.
Okay.
Whoa. What a pull.
Say it's a gift.
It seems Robert and I are two sides of the same coin.
I knew it had to be something obscure from the show, but the Jefferson Starships, that's awesome.
Yeah, the kind of limited edition monster created by a seasonal big bad, and it only really lasted maybe 2 episodes. As in they don't exist anymore after that.
We discovered it. We get to name it.
Kind of took their place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We discovered it. We get to name them, right?
That's right.
And of course, Dean goes for Jefferson Starship.
Yep. That's my absolute favorite monster in the whole 15-year series. So, bro, you're number 2.
We gotta go back to number 3. I got skipped. So
I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna double spin.
Go for it.
My number 3 is so I'm gonna borrow from you. I was tied between 2, and it's either the Resident Evil movie franchise. We're talking like with Alice and those, or of the Dead series. So like Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, or those ones. A good zombie setting sounds great. For those of you who got a chance to listen to my interview with Paul and Justin, zombies was brought up, and Paul, he's, just as a player, he's like, man, I'd love a solid zombie setting. Just traditional kind of zombies, just something in concrete. And I was like, that sounds good. So yeah, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Living Dead, like those, that would be great. Or even just the Resident Evil movies would be a good choice. My second choice, in Spectral, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. I picked Mimic as my number 2. I hate it, but I love it so much.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got man-sized bugs roaming the cities. It's a mystery. You gotta figure out, you're figuring out who's human or what's bug and tracking them down. I think it's a good, not straightforward, strong, agile, tough hero stuff. It's, very dedicated, smart, maybe charismatic hero, horror focused genre. I like it. They're silly. The Spectral hated it. I laughed so hard when he was talking about it before we started.
I hate that.
That sucks. I was like,
does suck. It is the worst movie I've ever saw in my entire 45 years on this planet.
Please tell us how you really feel.
Oh, I can't. We might get kicked off of YouTube.
That's fair. That's fair. I respect that.
But there you go.
All right. I'm going
Number
to go
one.
last for my number one. So Harlan or Robert, what do you got?
Ooh, shit. Okay. Again, like I didn't know which how to order any of these, but this to me again made sense as a game. Again, is anyone familiar with Battle Royale?
The anime battle royale.
Not in the anime.
No.
So it was what the Hunger Games was born out of.
Yeah,
Like
Murder High School.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there was an anime and manga based out of it, and then there's a live action.
Yeah. That to me, again, kind of speaks to the Purge idea where it's like isolated games where you drop players in. Obviously, it would be based on a battle royale, but you could exercise a lot of the existing classes within that. You would, again, it would be. I would probably lead more towards the Hunger Games aspect of it as the later, maybe even Hunger Games, but I wouldn't consider that horror. Battle Royale probably would fall in the horror aspect. When you watch the live action movie compared to it, it obviously is. But it was between that and The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, now that's the movie I hate. What Spectral feels for Mimic, Hills Have Eyes is what I feel. I genuinely walked out on Hills Have Eyes too. I genuinely did. I don't even think I made it to the 5-minute mark. I walked out. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I want my money back.
I've seen those. I've heard of them, but I've never seen them.
I think I remember the original one, but I've seen so many movies, I forget so much of what I've seen over the years.
If I'm not mistaken, was it the second one starts off with a woman giving birth, and as soon as the mutants have the baby, they crush her head. Like, that's how the movie begins, and it's like, oh, fuck, no, I'm out, dude. I'm good. I was so good on that front.
Yeah, it's hard to recover the film from that point, isn't it?
Yeah. Didn't help that the girl I was on a date with had a bunch of emotional trauma, so, like, she was ready to vomit at the very beginning, so we were like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and, like, abort this. Get out of there. Abort this mission, bro. We got to get out.
Yeah, not the right movie for that date.
No, not at all.
Wow, that's brutal.
Yeah, she was a horror movie fan too, and even she was like, no, I'm not feeling this at all. We got to go. So, okay, let's go.
That's fair. Completely fair.
Not to be all dark and gruesome, but I mean, it is a horror episode. But anyway, so who's next for number one?
That's on me then. Now, before you reminded me of Sleepy Hollow, the TV show, my top pick was actually going to a very obscure made-for-TV movie released in 2004. It is based on a Dean Koontz novel, Frankenstein, the television film, that is.
Yes.
Koontz wrote a series, a pentology, a 5-novel series, effectively retelling the story of Frankenstein. It didn't actually end in the Victorian age. It picks up in modern day New Orleans.
Yep. My wife is a huge fan.
It's a very well written series, I thought, and the TV movie was actually pretty good. But between the novels and the movie, there's a lot of really cool things, like literally creating an origin for one of, well, whatever Deucalion is, one of the new men or the new race, as the antagonist Dr. Frankenstein calls them, one of Helios's creations. There's a lot of good investigative horror. There's murder mysteries there. Wait a minute. While the main original Frankenstein definitely looks unusual, the rest of them can pass for human. So they could be anywhere. They could be anyone. They're not as you expect them to be. There's a lot of that sort of unexpected horror element of it. But once you reminded me of the Sleepy Hollow TV show, I'm thinking, but that would also be so good because, I mean, Sleepy Hollow, again, it draws on so many relatively obscure supernatural myths and legends from both European and Native American folklore. It even brings in the last season even brings in well, actually, not even just the last season, although the last season specifically does focus on it, but the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse have a major plot element throughout the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Headless Horseman, he's supposed to be death on a horse. Although they give him the symbol of a bow on his hand, that's supposed to be the symbol of conquest. But even so, so they mix up some of the symbology a bit.
Well, the writer's just not as good as the supernatural writers.
That's fair. That's fair. But it did have a Bones crossover 2 episodes with the TV show Bones.
I remember that.
Which could also bring us into some like forensic scientist type stuff and benevolent undead characters, or what happens when you've made a bargain with something you shouldn't.
Like a crossroads demon?
Falls into supernatural as well, but
I know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good properties out there. So I'm going to hijack some airtime here because trying to figure out my number one was, I had Lost Boys. You guys mentioned that. That's fine. The Mummy. You guys mentioned my number 2. That's fine. And I'm going over my mental list, and I'm like, man, for honorable mentions, we have, your big, well-known Friday the 13th. But go with the first one. You've got Nightmare on Elm Street. Same thing. First one, second one, you got Freddy, you got Jason, you got Halloween with Michael Myers. You got Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All classics. Poltergeist would be I think would be another good one. And they're all honorable mentions for me. Just like these are just classic horror movies that stand up to time. But my number one is, I think it's a tie. It's the same series, but between the movies, it's going to be a tie between the original Evil Dead and the Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness, 100%.
Because Army of Darkness was a horror comedy, where the original Evil Dead was horror.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think having the elements of both, would be really good. Now, again, another one that had a TTRPG already published, but that's been some years. So I think I picked that up at Origins on Crazy Igor's discount when he was there. But yeah, the Army of Darkness, the Evil Dead, there's plenty to work with. To the different. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on what they're called.
Deadites?
Yeah, the Deadites. Yeah.
Deadites, yeah.
There's various different Deadites. You got the one that's kind of like a witch. Shop smart, shop S smart. You got the past. You've got the present. This is my boomstick. There's just so much with that. It's one of my favorite series / movie series. And even the television show was pretty good. It was mostly gore, but it was decent. It wasn't like, the Real Housewives of whatever city, trashy, but it was comedy horror like Army of Darkness. And, Ash versus Evil Dead. It was good. What do you guys think?
If someone put a gun to my head and said, what would Spectral Force has picked maybe as his number one, I would have been like, yeah, probably something out of Evil Dead. And I would have survived. It would have been great.
You would have.
It has a lot of the elements. It has a lot of the elements that would make a great CA. Cool settings, very, very eye-catching and memorable main characters for NPCs that you could run into. And certainly a hell of a lot of monsters.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much you could do with that. You remember you had all the little ashes running around. You had the hand. You had the vine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you had the creepy cabin in the woods.
It's a cult classic and a classic in horror. Like that's something that would, if the IP was up for some reason, like to scoop up and be like, yup, because it would sell like crazy.
Well, easily, yeah, for sure.
Dave, there's another hot one for you besides the one I DM'd you on Discord. The Evil Dead Army of Darkness. Check out that IP as well. Do you guys have any honorable mentions?
First honorable mention, I've got two. First honorable mention is do you guys remember, it's an old Christopher Walken film from 95, The Prophecy. was
the
a whole
prophecy one.
The Prophecy series. It was
Yep.
I think there were how many sequels were there? Maybe maybe 4, but the initial one is a supernatural thriller horror mystery concept of like this guy has visions of the angels coming down to earth trying to usher in the end of days. So you've got a lot of situations going on there, and I have very strong memories of the D20 modern apocalypse settings and such. I think that would be a really fun situation. And besides that, I'm actually surprised at myself that I didn't bring up any Stephen King films. But Dr. Sleep.
Oh,
I know it's not one of the better known or one of the more classic ones, but the idea of psychics that can like fight people in their dreams and like effectively soul vampires and psychic vampires out there. I thought that was and plus it opens the door to all the wider interconnected, constantly self-referenced world of, well, say Desperation or Cujo or Salem's Lot or It.
Wow.
You could get a Stephen King property and the license to reference or make stuff for the entire. I mean, that's an entire game line of its own.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like Dark Tower.
Oh yeah, Dark Tower, exactly. Ties in everything.
Yeah.
And yes,
you mentioned End of Days. I didn't even think about that one. That would be a good one with Arnold. Yeah, that would definitely be a good one.
So my honorable mention is this it's a super obscure movie. I swear to no one's ever heard of it. I don't even know. You guys probably don't even know, man. Like it was just this a little low budget indie film called Ghostbusters.
Love it. Love it.
No, you guys don't know. Nobody knows about it.
People love some Ghostbusters,
comedians,
man.
That's very, very hipster of you.
I liked it before it was popular.
Oh.
But that's my honorable mention. So, but my number one choice is a really obscure. Now this one not really obscure, but Clive Barker's Nightbreed
is a good one. Again, another obscure one to be sure, but that has a lot of potential.
Genuinely obscure, probably, but yeah, it's something in the same veins as like everybody's Lost Boys choice. Like, it's my number one, not because it's the one I want the most, but it's something that I think it's much more workable, but not quite as up in your face like Godzilla is. It's on the opposite side of the spectrum of that one for sure, but it's something that's workable. You can be a Nightbreed as a starting race, and then do your thing. And
1990. Yeah, give us. I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought out loud.
No, you're good. So Clive Barker. It's good stuff right there. So all right. So who has yet to say their number one?
I thought it was just you. I thought I was the last one.
No,
because you did 1 and 2 back to back.
I did. Yeah, I did.
You did 3 and 2 back to back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we skipped you for 3 because we're bad people.
Worms, as Pain and Panic said.
But yeah, that's where I sit. Any others? I mean, I'm glad that none of us mentioned Child's Play or Friday the 13th. Like, I know that those were pretty obvious, and I know that's what I was kind of going for with my list. But I'm actually kind of glad that none of us mentioned it because we all had really good, solid choices.
Yeah, I wanted to stay away from the mainstream as much as possible. With that, that's why I put them in my honorable mentions. Like they're the classics. They're good, but that's not. I don't think what we wanted to shoot for anyway.
Yeah, other than Godzilla, because everybody wants Godzilla. Everybody wants Godzilla. We absolutely need Godzilla to.
He's been a fan favorite ever since the first movie came out.
Yeah, there's a Godzilla podcast that was on. I was listening to on Spotify, and I joined their Discord. And I was pumping the Kong Skull Island RPG on there. I was like, hey, like get on board. And the arguments that I would get into with other fans, they're like, I'm not going to buy it unless they have Godzilla. And I'm like, but if you buy Kong Skull Island, that creates the incentive for them to get Godzilla. And they didn't seem to understand the concept of demand creates necessity, right? Like the more people buy this, the more what do you want to say? Incentive, like oh shit, Kong's a super popular RPG. We can go show this to Legendary and investors and say, hey, people want Godzilla because Kong's selling like hotcakes. So let's get the funds so we can get the license from Toho and make this possible. But yeah, apparently people didn't understand that concept, and so yeah, I felt like Sisyphus pushing up that rock, man. But Kong is great. I'm looking forward to more books, and there's a new, and I brought it up in our chat group, but there's Kong Survival Instincts. It's a brand new video game that just came out, and
oh yeah, that's right.
The trailer for it I was watching. I was like, holy crap, that right there is a cinematic adventure for everyday heroes. You got Titans wrecking up a city. You're a survivor, or you're going into a danger zone. You're trying to save, you're trying to save people who might be stuck in buildings and stuff like that. And that's a great adventure setting. And especially you get the Monarch technology where they have the ability to summon and communicate to Titans, like from Godzilla 2. They had it was like, what was that machine called? The Orca or something like that. And they were able to talk to they were able to mimic a Titan, so they would summon Ghidorah.
Yeah.
So they implement that in Survival Instinct, and but it summons King Kong.
Ooh.
To come in, and so Kong helps your character out in the adventure.
Sweet.
Like, I think you fight him sorta in the game
as much as you can fight a Titan,
right? As much as you can, but yeah, you can summon Kong in, and he fights. There's a brand new Titan for the game. It's called Abaddon. It's a giant spider.
Oh wow!
So you're fighting Abaddon spawn, so like these man-sized spiders. You have to fight them. You fight the terrorists from Godzilla King of the Monsters. I don't remember the name of that group, but they're running through the town, and they're causing problems, and so you fight them too. And then you fight Tiamat, and in this game it explains more as to why Tiamat was making up a fuss, and why Godzilla had to go fight Tiamat in Godzilla Kong Empire. And so yeah, it's cool, and it fills in a lot of blanks, especially for Kong Skull Island. If I'm not mistaken, the review that I saw was what's his name, Tom Hiddleston's character. So a lot of the data files, it explains what he did with Monarch after Skull Island, and like it tells you like his time in Monarch. Yeah, so it fills in a lot of blanks. I recommend people go play it. It's pretty cheap. It's like $20. It's on sale right now on digital markets. Yeah, it looks cool, man. I'm planning on buying it, playing it. So that's my stint. It's pretty much all I got.
Well, sweet.
All right.
Awesome.
So, any other runner-ups from anybody?
Nah, that's all I got.
All right.
Well, let's call it a tight 1 hour episode, man. Call it a bonus.
Word.
All right. Yeah, we hit 1 hour. All right.
Woo!
Thank you for listening to my Kong 8 Gang Rising rant. Appreciate it. That was my TED Talk.
The Monarch organization is a really cool element of that entire film franchise. I loved it.
Oh, the TV series, so good too. So if we can't get Godzilla, I would love more Monarch material to come out with it. So at the very least.
Sick. All right. I guess that does it for us for tonight.
Yeah, look forward to next episode, and next wide-ranging set of conversations.
Amen to that.
And so to everybody, have a happy Halloween. I'm sure this episode will be up before then or on that day. I don't know when we plan on releasing, but everybody have a happy Halloween,
Happy All Hallows.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Everybody stay safe from the creepies and the crawlies and the ookies and the spookies.